Jay from Team DMA, bringing a special video for CJ and doing a quick overview and also discussion on. I think we have like 6 to 10 new players, like Dark Mission players. So I think last year I ended the classes because they were taking too much time consuming, and I'm just very open-minded and honest with you guys. I don't get paid for it. I'm just dedicating some of my free time when I can to help people out. Then once people fly, it just feels great. You know, you see their channel hit the 1,000 subscribers, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and then they become Dark Magician Masters. And eventually they even surpass my skill because they play Dark Magician at a mixture. Like they mix a lot of different cards. Me, for the most part, I try not to mix it too much. I try to keep it as pure as I can, and I stick to the AC 130. The difference is I go against the tier 1 and tier 0 decks. But regarding the profile, CJ just started playing again. I guess he hadn't played for a while. So that's really exciting. I'm very happy because he's going to be able to be in the anime and we could utilize him for a lot of things like tournaments and stuff like that. So that's great. Congratulations to you, CJ. Blessings to you and your household. And now I wanted to talk really quick, a recap about this field that he has. So basically in the Dark Magician deck, a lot of people play Village to like stop your opponent from playing spells. But the thing is, there's a lot of ways to get around that. So just because you play Village doesn't ensure today, that doesn't ensure that your opponent can play their spells. And I'll explain why. Because they can just link climb to a dark, or they could dark the Dark Charmer, or that's just common, right? And that's why the famous YouTuber, what's his name? YGO, YGO, YGO. That's why he's not able to advance, because as soon as people go over the Village, and everybody does, if you don't know how to go over Village, you probably don't know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh. You're probably a rookie, but everybody should know how to go over a Village. You just link climb to monsters. That's it. So I taught people how to lock them under the Village, but I'm not gonna be talking about that right now. There's a lot of people who know how to do it, but I don't really care for that card, because when you do a mirror match, it's useless. It's useless against a lot of decks. And nowadays, like I said, because they can out it like nothing. It's really nothing. And you can tell how weak people's decks are, because as soon as they out the Village, they lose. So then that means you don't know what you're doing. Because think about it. If you're winning duels because of Village, then it means your deck sucks. You don't know what you're doing, because the Village is winning the duel, not the deck. So that's why I teach the Dark Mission community. The better option is like I said, like I been teaching people for 5 years. It's better to have like 10 to 15 negates on the board, or a mixture of maybe 6 or 7 negates plus like another 7 interruptions, because that way you don't even need Dragoon. Which one do you rather have, 5 or 6 negations and like 4 or 5 interruptions, or Dragoon? Dragoon is only 1 negate. So I'd rather have uh, like a boss monster that's not on the field. And you're like, why? Because I'm utilizing my spells and traps and some of the monsters to do omni negations and interruptions, and they're going past 10 per turn. So my question is, why do I need Dragoon? The answer is I don't need it. I don't need Dragoon. Dragoon is just a cherry on the top. And that's why a lot of Dark Magician players are fake and they suck and they don't know what they're doing. Now, it sounds crazy. It sounds like I'm ranting or attacking, but I'm telling you guys the truth. Look at all the millions of like Dark Magician players. When they're not playing either Dragoon, they're not playing Village, or they're winning duels against tier 1, tier 0 decks. No, nobody is. So I don't play those cards. And it's great for Master Duel training, because there is some people that go up high in the ranks with Dark Magician, and guess what? They're not playing Dragoon, and most of them are not playing the Village. People don't know that. So that goes to show you that that is fake. Those are the fake Dark Magician community. You can use those cards, but they're not going to be the reason why you win. The reason why you win is because of your deck and your skills. So let's go over this really quick. So for this deck, CJ, it's an outdated deck from like a year and a half ago. You need to get the updated version So I'm gonna post the link. I'm gonna post the profile here for Master Duel, so you can copy it and update the new profile. So the new profile is probably like 2 or 3 times stronger than this one. This one's a year and a half ago, and I created it for people who were just starting, and I was doing classes on omni negation and stuff like that. But you're not gonna need that anymore. You're gonna be switching to the AC-130, the new version, and it ditches uh, the uh, the the invoke package. It ditches it all, and it switches to be still with more negations of spell and trap. So here on the board, one of the things that you have to be aware of is when you have skill drain, Dragon Knight is not activated, so you need to defend your traps and your spells. So village helps, the right hand helps, and then also the trap that you have there of custom Imperial custom, which says none of the traps can be destroyed. So essentially, all of their cards that they play, like they play Feather, Lightning, they're gonna be playing monster effects to pop, and all of those cards are useless. They have them, but they do nothing. They don't affect you, and that's essentially why you win, because you're not like the fake Dark Mission community that you're just kind of being surprised by every card. You see thousands and thousands, yeah, thousands and thousands of famous YouTubers, people who are at 10,000, 15, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 Dark Magician subscribers channels, and they can handle a lightning vortex back by what's it called, by a feather, or they can even out like just a monster that will destroy a spell or trap. They can out. There's a lot of things that they can out, and that's because they don't know what they're doing. They're playing the Dark Mission deck, but they don't know how to play it. The Dark Mission deck is it doesn't matter what you play, I'm gonna negate it. That's the way that the Dark Mission deck is. A lot of people have started to realize Dark Mission is a control deck. That's when it's the most powerful. How can we prove it? Because you're gonna have to show me another channel out of the millions that can beat tier 1 and tier 0, and you're gonna find out you're not gonna find any. So the funny thing is that on my channel I beat those decks, but with budget decks. So it doesn't make sense. So a lot of people think that I'm paying people, that my duels are rigged. There's a lot of fake stuff people being said. They also say that the opponents don't know what they're playing, and some of the guys are they win their locals, the guys that I'm playing against, and you can tell because they're going through 6, 7 negations that I put, and they still break my board. So when you go to the fake Dark Mission channels, they can't even handle like two negations. So why do I bring that up? Because sometimes you don't have that Dragoon. Sometimes you don't have that Dragon Knight. Sometimes you don't have this. You don't have that. You don't have the Circle. You don't have the Eternal Soul. You don't have the Skill Drain. You don't have this. It's always you don't have something because the world isn't perfect. So what you're doing is essentially similar to like preparing like for camp. When you go to camp or when you go to work, you take your wallet, you take some money in there, prepare in case you need gas. You take your lunch, and that's what the deck is about. Dark Mission, you prepare, you take your lunch in the deck, prepared for whatever happens. So if you need an Omni negate, you have, for example, you have the Skill Drain, and there's other cards that do the same thing as Skill Drain, other traps. I'm going to be showing a profile. But there's other cards that do the same thing as Skill Drain. Even though they negate it, we can still play the other two cards to replace Skill Drain. One Skill Drain and the other two traps, and they do the same thing. And no monster effect. So what happens after that is you need a Skill Drain or something similar in the field together with the spell trap negate. And people are wondering like, why? Well, because you need to stop that vortex, you need to stop the feather, you need to stop a lot of like anything, the super poly, anything that you can think of that as a spell, you need to stop it. And I don't trust the village because people can bring a spellcaster and then they'll surpass it. So what I prefer is something that's a negation, hands down, bottom line, no questions asked. It doesn't matter what he plays, it's gonna be negated, and that's why I introduced the right hand. And I taught everyone how to make the right hand omni negate. It can negate cards that say your opponent cannot respond. It's all like a trick of the hat, like a magic trick. And there's no other channel that teaches you how to do that. And all of these combos, these profiles, they're 5 years old. They're like way old. People still haven't caught up. And I bring that up because you need to be able to stop those cards. The feather The storm, those things are things of the past. They're worthless to you. They have no effect. Not against the Dark Magician deck. Any other deck, tier 1, tier 0, those broken cards, they lose to them. Dark Magician, the budget, no, you don't. They're trash to us. They're worthless. So people might be wondering, and so what if I don't get the Dragonite, or what don't I don't have Dragoon? Well, you have Imperial Custom. You might not save the spells, but you can save the traps, and the traps will ensure that you stay in the duel, and then you can keep drawing and going, doing it like that. So the right hand for the spells each turn, and then what you're starting to notice, each turn that passes, your negates never leave. They stay on the field. So for example, here he has the skill drain 2 negates, and then he has 3 interruptions. The first one is the Eternal, stopping an attack, and then you get draw something, and then making Dark Magician a boss monster unaffected by anything. And then you have the circle, another interruption with the banish, and then the Imperial Custom, another interruption, because they're gonna play their cards, but they're useless. Like they trigger it, and they just go to the graveyard and they do nothing. And you might be wondering, like, why play a Twin Twister? And in my profiles, I always tell people, if you play Dark Magician, play Twin Twister. And what happens with Twin Twister is the cards in the AC 130 are not only to destroy your opponent, you use them for yourself too. Because the deck is a control deck, so it puts a lock, but only you have the key, if that makes sense. This is why the AC 130 is such a powerful and broken deck. That's why it cannot be imitated or cannot be recreated, because you have to follow that recipe, because it's super, super powerful and it's already been tested. And it's the only deck that has lasted the span of time. It's already 5 years in a row and it's still broken. Same profile. So yeah, that's the whole point of playing these cards, like the right hand and Imperial Custom, and you have Dark Bribe, and there's other cards. People can play other cards. You can add like a navigation, and there's just a long list, Soul of Judgment, blah blah blah, stuff like that. And all of those cards are because you don't have the Dragoon at the moment, because you don't have the Dragon Knight at the moment. So it doesn't matter if you don't have it. You have another card that does the same thing. Do you get it? So it's like, okay, I'm trying to get to my Dragon Knight real quick, but you're like, man, I can't get to it. Hey, but I have an Imperial Custom. Hey, it's good enough. Your traps will be saved. Nobody cares about your spells because you can always redraw them. You have more in your deck. You should play at least 2 circle. And the rest of the spells nobody even cares about. So, and then the right hand for the negation. So that's the whole point. And then you use your Magician Souls to send the spell trap to the graveyard as you want to either keep the lock on or off. You have the key to controlling the field. So the whole time your opponent is submitting to what you say. You decide if he can play spells or not. You decide if they can be played effects or not. You decide if cards can be set face down or not. You decide if monsters can come out. And you're like, why? Because you're in control. Banishing them, popping the cards, negating the trap, the traps, the spells, destroying the spell traps, destroying the monsters, negating the monsters. Like, you're fully in control of what gets played. If something gets played, if you like it, let it play. If you don't like something, negate it. And that's the whole point of the deck. It's like super the world's cheapest, weakest deck, but it's also the most broken, powerful. And the AC 130 stands for the gunship, the world's most powerful gunship. So it's gotta feel his name, the shoes. So it's nicknamed the Angel of Death. And there's a reason for it. People who see it don't survive. And I created this profile, and that's why everything's thought about in the future. So you're going to be needing the updated profile, and I'm gonna be showing it to you in a bit again. I think I already showed it to you, but I'm gonna show it to you again. And basically, you have the Naruto out there to negate. Also, with if you want to add a Solemn Judgment, I don't recommend it. You can play other cards like Bribe, and there's a lot of other cards, Magician Navigation. There's a lot, and those cards are utilized that when your opponent plays like evenly matched, or they're better what they play, you can trigger the effect to negate. You don't use those cards. You let your opponent destroy your monsters and some of your spell and traps, but when they use something broken, like to out your board, like I said, like an evenly match or a feather or a lightning storm or a Dark Ruler no more or Regeki, there's a long list. That's when you utilize those cards. They're there waiting for those cards. kind of like DD Designator. The card is just sitting there waiting for the right hand trap, and then once they play, you trigger it, you discard yours, and you negate it. That's what these cards do. They're just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. So when your opponent draws the 6 cards, they will all do something, but you will be unaffected by all of them. And then there's been people who challenged me with kaijus. There's ways to lock the kaijus out. They can't use kaijus against the AC 130. People don't know that. There's a combo, and people who have some understanding, some experience, they know what I'm talking about. But there is cards to negate the kaijus from coming out. So they can play spells. They're useless. They can't play their traps. They can't use monster effects. They can't special summon. If they do, you banish them. They can't say any card face down because you're popping them. So when you do the check mark, you're in control. You're gonna win. It doesn't matter what they play. It doesn't matter what card they have. All of the cards, all of their plays are negated. All of them. And that's the point of the deck. I have to end the video, but every turn that happens, you have to increase the negations and increase the interruptions, and you have to know what to do it and at what time. And that's pretty much it. Also, the deck does a lot of draw, and you don't need to overcommit. Once you already have like 3 negates, 3 interruptions, you stop. Every other card stays in your hand. Because I've seen a lot of people overcommit, like they fill up their whole board, and then they fill up their whole trap, and then people play like a broken combination of cards. Like they'll play a Regeki, and no, they'll play a Lightning Vortex followed by a Regeki, and then a what's it called? A Feather, and then they'll end up breaking the board if you don't have Dragonite. And when they break the board, then you lose. So what I do is I'll set up somewhere around 2 to 3 negates, and then at least 2 to 3 interruptions, and then I stop and I keep everything else in my hand. If the board were to be broken by a miracle, it never happens. Like I've had thousands and thousands of duels, and this never happened. But the few times that people have broken like a smaller board, I always have Bestial to back up, and that's what you need. You're prepared for the future, and that's what separates a good Dark Mission player from the fake. Because what you notice, like 100% of Dark Mission players, this goes to everyone that exists. When they out their board, they lose. Have you noticed that? It doesn't matter who they are. When you come to the channel, when they out my board, nothing happens. I still win. Why? Because I'm already thinking of what to do when the board gets wiped. So I already have a combo and a sequence for that. So like they out the board, useless. That's not gonna win them the duel. They summon this, useless. They banish this, that's useless. It doesn't matter what combination of cards and what they play, it's useless. And people are gonna say, well, then that means you'll never lose. Well, you have to remember the deck is a $10 to $20 deck. So let me ask you a question. Can you beat tier 1, tier 0s when $10 to $20 deck? You could answer the question, this deck is that cheap and it gets that type of job done. So because it's that cheap, of course the deck is going to lose once in a while, but the ratio is at 80% win rate. And when it comes to tier 1 and tier 0, it's a tier 1, tier 0 killer. So I gotta end the video, but there was one person who got it right. He was watching my duel, and he see me like murder a tier 0 deck, and he left a comment. He said, yo, this Dark Magician deck is toxic. He said it's toxic broken. And he's right. Because the tier 0 decks and tier 1 are toxic. People just like to say they're nice, but they are toxic. I'm just giving them a taste of their own medicine. They never lose, and then I'm here to give them the loss and trigger their emotions. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna be teaching people Dark Magician from square one because we have new people coming in. Thanks for all the subscribers. Thanks for all the support. CJ, try the profile. I'm gonna show it to you in a bit. So the deck has become quite famous on YouTube. We're I think 1,100 or 1,200 views, and I think 10 or 11 or more likes. Like that's pretty good for the channel being small. And it's only been a few days that the deck has been out. People love it because it's a super hyper broken Dark Magician deck for the budget structure. Like unbelievable. Nobody could create something. No one has ever thought about it like that. It's like super broken, and it's been tested. It's not talk. It's all show. You can see it on my channel. Murdering Unchained and all these decks that people can't even beat with top tier decks. This deck turns them all into trash. They're worthless. And when you transfer this deck into Master Duel, all the cards are available except for the two skill drain. So you substitute that for last turn, I believe. And there's another card too that negates the monsters on the field. I don't remember what it's called right now. Something stone. So you guys can leave it on the comments. Something stone, but those traps say the monster effects on the field are negated. That's what they do. But they're essentially the same like skill drain. So you just replace it, and this is the profile, and this is the updated profile that you have to be playing with the Dragoon and then the Naruto. So this is the exact profile you need on Master Duel. So I'm gonna be playing this profile on Master Duel. So it doesn't matter if they have monsters, it doesn't matter if they have back row, it doesn't matter what card they play, they're all just useless. And it can establish a maximum of 6 negations, and then it does 6 interruptions, all in the same turn, so it's a total of 12. This is from a budget deck. So this deck is a diamond version. And people are going to say, well, that's not that powerful. No, it's not, because I tried to keep it Dark Magician pure, except for the 2 Bestial and the Pinkertops. And the deck is pretty strong, pretty broken. It can out pretty much anything, and you can see it. So I'm going to be entering the profile in the, what's it called, in the tournament. So people don't have to worry. I'm not going to be playing the skill drains and the other stuff. I might just play 1 skill drain, but the rest I'm going to take out. Then also I'm not playing Village because it's too toxic at that point. You can't play your spells. There's no monster effects. All of your monster effects together with your spell trap to destroy, they all get negated. You can't play spells, like I said. And I'm going to be banishing. So it's not fair. You can't play your damn cards. So people are going to get triggered. So I'm not trying to make people angry in the tournament, especially our group. So I'm not going to be playing, what's it called? I'm not going to be playing like Toxic Lockdown AC 130 because it won't be fair for people. None of your cards will resolve. And then when you go second, the profile gets changed to you take out all the traps, and the only thing you leave is one, what's it called? One skill drain. One, there can only be one, and then the Eternal Soul and the, what's it called? And the Bribe. You leave those, and then the preparation also get taken out. So you have a slot for about 6 cards, something like that. And what you do is you do 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Vortex, 2 Dark Ruler, and then those cards you just break the board, and that's how you see me murder everything. And that's it for the video. It's come for long enough. Any questions or concerns, let me know. Good job, CJ, and also to Dave. Hopefully you start playing soon as well. You can join the tournament. The video's gone too long. With that having been said, you guys, Dark Magic Attack.